And welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's pattern we're going to work on the flower throw together. This is a hexagonal Afghan design, and essentially you have hexagonals as your basic shapes going throughout. Now this is one of the very first Afghans Daniel Dividan actually finished, and I'm surprised he finished. I'll be quite honest with you. When he started it, I'm like, you're never going to finish that, and he whipped it off in a week, and I was so shocked. So in the original pattern you'll notice that all the hexagonals are a solid color, but what happens when you start changing colors? You start getting a whole another level. So absolutely same pattern, different colors, and you really can have a lot of fun. Can I honestly tell you, this is one of those secret little fun little finds on redheart.com where you look at a pattern and you say, well, you know what, I'm not that interested in doing a solid design, but you know what, a little bit of creativity, change the colors, and you have a completely new concept, even though the pattern is absolutely identical. So throughout today's pattern you can use one solid color like you would in the pattern, but just for fun I'm going to change the colors throughout just in case you're interested in doing that. So my particular pattern here, I have 4 different colors, and you can do whatever you want for colors. I would also recommend for the outside border, have them all the same color. One thing that Daniel commented about it is that when he stitched them together and the solid colors are different, when you go to stitch them together it's not always a nice clean line depending on the yarn that you've chosen to stitch everything together, and he really recommended that you have the outside border being identical for all of them. So let's begin working on the flower throw tutorial right now, thanks to redheart.com. So to begin today you'll need a 5.5mm crochet hook size I. I'm using Red Heart with Love. You can also use Red Heart Super Saver if you wish. So let's begin, and we are going to start off and we are going to do a chaining of 4. So I'm going to start off with a slip knot as always and begin to chain 4. Remember that this never counts as 1. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and now let's form our ring by putting our hook into the very first chain, grabbing the yarn and pulling it through and through, and so voila, there is your first ring. So let's begin our next level. To begin our next level we need to crochet around the center of this ring. So to begin we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to go right into the center of the ring 12 more times. So we're just going to go right into the center, grab the yarn, pull through, and we're going to single crochet around this ring 12 times. So I'm just going to start doing that. So this is 1, and we have 2 and 3. And do you notice that I have the straggler on top? Keep that around the ring so that you can bury that underneath. So that was 4, this is 5, this is 6, and this is 7. So eventually you're going to run out of space. So I'm going to let the straggler fall out, and essentially because you're going around the ring that you can just shift the stitches if you need to, if you're running out of space. So that was 7, so this is 8 and 9. 10, 11, and I'm going to just pull back again, 11 and 12. And I want to slip stitch to the beginning chain that we started off with, the beginning single crochet I should say. And what I want to do is I want to grab my next color, so I'm just going to leave it like this, and I'm just going to grab my next color. Notice that there's no knots, and I'm going to use that string to pull through and through, and so now I'm ready for blue. So let me prepare this other stitch work here. I want to get rid of the pink. I'm just going to cut it. So the pink is now separated from the yarn ball itself, and so here's what it looks like. So we're going to begin row number 2 next. So using the blue we're going to go up to round number 2. So it says we're just going to immediately chain 3 and then slip stitch in the next single crochet. So here we go. We're going to just chain 3, so 1, 2, and 3, and we come into immediately to the next single crochet. It's right here. But before you do that I want you to grab the string of the pink and the blue and put it on top of the line first. And what I want you to do when you go into that single crochet, I want you to leave these 2 stragglers on top, and what's going to happen is that when you go to slip stitch now it's going to get stuck underneath, which is so that doesn't fall out on you. So let's begin the next part. So 1, 2, and 3. Next stitch is a slip stitch. Okay, so we're just going to continue to do that all the way around. So 1, 2, and 3, and coming all the way around in. So eventually what's going to happen is we come all the way around, and you'll discover in just a few minutes is that you are going to have 12 of these little loopies coming out of this because you have 12 stitches going on. So continue to go all the way around doing a chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then single crochet into the next stitch, and then 1, and then 1, 2, and 3, single crochet, or sorry, slip stitch into the next one. So keep slip stitching all the way around. I'll meet you back up and we'll just verify before we move on. So we're coming all the way back around, and essentially see these little loops on the outside. There should be 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So the very final one that we have to do, 1, 2, and 3, when we go to slip stitch it, we're gonna slip it right in the last area. So you will have a total of 12 of those little loops. Now we're not going to change color on this round. We're going to keep it the same, because you will notice in the ring in the center is that we see how we have the pink. The pink is actually going around 2 layers, because do you see how this blue is going up over top? Those are going around the pink, but you don't even see it. So there's really no point of changing your color at this moment. So let's move along to your next round. So let's begin this round here. Now this round is about transforming the 12 sides that you see there to being 6 sides. You see 6 petals. So now this is the round that's going to transfer that to make that happen. So let's begin. We are going to slip stitch and chain 1 and single crochet into the very beginning chain 3 space here. So we're just going to slip stitch first. Okay, so we slipped in, we're going to chain 1 and then single crochet into that space like so. Now what we're going to do is then begin to chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're going to single crochet into the next chain 3 space. In. Okay, so we're single crochet. We're then going to chain 1 and then single crochet into the next chain 3 space, just like so. So essentially this is what's happening, is that the middle, so basically you have 12 pieces here. One of them is being used in the middle, just like you see in between the 2 spaces. Do you see that? There's 2 leaves. So this is the middle piece that we're working on. So let's begin our next part. So it's chaining of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go to the next chain 3 space for a single crochet, chain 1, and then single crochet into the next one like so, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, chain 1, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, in chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, single crochet in, chain 1, single crochet into the next one, and 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, coming into the next one, chain 1, single crochet into the next, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, coming into the next for a single crochet. So you can see now that we have 6 petals going on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so we just single crocheted in, but we're not done. We have to chain 1 first and then join it to the beginning of where we started. And so what I wanted to do is that we're going to change the color now to yellow, and when we come in we're going to just grab our yellow, and instead of finishing off this we would just slip stitch it as normal, but instead what I wanted to do is have a generous tail of yellow and bring the yellow through to complete off this round. So let me prepare the yellow to begin, and I'm going to just snap off this blue, or snip it off like so, and now I'm ready to go on to the next round. So the next round we're going to start creating the petal shapes just like you see. In this case it'll be yellow. So I've just now brought on my yellow, so I'm going to have 2 stragglers now. I'm going to have the blue and the yellow, and so I want to lay those on top of the next petal that we're going to go around. So let's begin. We're going to single crochet into, just immediately, we're not going to chain 1 first, we're just going to single crochet ourselves into this whole chain 5 space. Then we're going to half double crochet, and do you see how I have the stragglers left on top? It's going to get buried underneath the first one. So this is a half double, and now we're going to double crochet. So we're essentially building the leaves up, and now we're going to treble. So 1, 2, we wrap it twice going in, and that is the first half of our petal. So once you get to the first half, just like so, you're gonna chain one, and now let's come down the other side of this petal. So treble, okay, and then double, so we just wrap once, half double, okay, and single. So we've just gone up over top of this whole thing, and what we need to do is that I'm gonna let the stragglers go in behind. I'm not gonna bother with them anymore, and I'm just going to slip stitch to the beginning middle here. So right into that gap, just slip stitch it in, and that'll stabilize it. So let's review that one more time because all the petals are identical. We're gonna single crochet first. We are going to half double. We are going to double. We are going to treble, wrap and wrap. So the first half is done of the petal, so therefore we chain one, and then wrap and wrap for a treble, going back in the other direction. So we're now going down, so we're gonna double, we are going to half double, and single, and when we get in between, we're just going to slip stitch. So continue to do that all the way around. When we come back, we'll start up. We only have 2 more rounds after this. So we're coming all the way back around, and we just slip stitch to the middle area. And what I recommend for you at this point, and it doesn't say to do this in the pattern, but because it doesn't say to change the color, this is my own little interpretation. What I'd recommend is that go to the next yellow here and just slip stitch through. And what this does is that it finishes it off nicer than it would be is if you just stopped. So what I recommend at this point is that we need to trim off our yarn at that point, and I would recommend that you just fasten this off as normal, and I would weave in my ends at this point just to make sure you catch it in between. It's just one of those things you'll have to do. With the granny squares, it's a normal thing. You can also use a darning needle also to hide those. So let me do that. I'm gonna hide this, and what I'm gonna do before I move on is that I'm just gonna turn it over and see all the loose ends. Normally I would cut that out in a tutorial, but because this doesn't exist in the pattern, what I'd recommend, because of the way I had you hide it, is that we can immediately just start snipping. We have done our homework and make sure everything was buried, so when you start snipping, you're not worried about any of the stitches wrecking itself and falling out at this point. So now we can have this. So this would even be a good applique at this point, but let's move on to the next part of this pattern, and I'm gonna show you how to do the final 2 rounds next. We're gonna start off, and I'm gonna bring on my white, and I want to create a slip knot first. Doesn't say to do this, but it doesn't say to change the color either. So I'm gonna start off with a slip knot first and put it onto my hook, and what I want you to do is that I want you to choose somewhere else here, and I want you to choose right where you've slip stitched already. So in between 2 petals, go right into the same spot that you have actually done the slip stitch. So you're not going on top, you're going underneath. So exactly where you went with the yellow. So you will notice that it says in the instructions that when you go to do this, that it will be working over row number 4. So this is what we're just doing. So I've just brought everything, so we're gonna join it. And so I want to take the straggler, okay, at the same time of the regular string, and I want you to begin to chain. So 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then let that straggler go. Okay, so we want to make sure that we got the right strings here. Okay, so let that straggler go out of position. So that was 3. So I'm going to let that go out of the way. Because I have the way I've done it, I can safely trim that later, and you will never see where I started. And so that was 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's a lot of chains, but it totally makes sense once we get all the way back around. So I want you to immediately jump into the next petal right in between, and we are going to single crochet, and we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and single crochet back into that petal on the outside. So let's begin again. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to come in between the 2 petals right down underneath where the yellow is, and we're going to do a treble. So we're going to wrap and wrap into that same spot, and then pull through 2, 2, and 2, and now we're all the way back up again. So if you saw in the original pattern, you see how the white is going in between on top of the pink area. It's going in that whole complete area. So once we have that done, we chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. we come to the next petal on the outside and do what you've already know. So we're going to single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. So let's begin again. So 1, 2 and 3 chains. We are going to treble down into this space way down there. Okay, and once you get that done, 1, 2 and 3 and the outside of the next petal. So single crochet, chain 2 and single crochet. So continue to do that all the way around. Do not fasten off. We're going to carry white on for the last round after this. So I'm coming around and this is my last petal. So 1, 2, coming around. So this is where we have to start thinking about it. Remember how we chained 7? You thought, wow, that was a lot. It is a lot. So we're going to chain 3 first, 1, 2 and 3, and then I need you to come back down here and count up to 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 is where you're going to slip stitch to finalize off that round. So let's begin. We're going to start our next round. So we're right in between on this treble, and that's exactly where we need to be. So let's move on to the next round, which is your final. Here's the outside round, and it is so easy it's not even funny. So we're going to chain up 1 first, and we're going to single crochet exactly where we've joined. So right on top of the treble. So here's how easy this thing is. This gapping space, the next gapping of chaining of 3 is going to get 3 single crochets in. We then immediately move to the outside petal into this gapping space that you see there, and we're going to put in our 3 single crochets. This here, because there's 3 single crochets going in there, it's going to cause it to turn naturally in the corner that you need. So let's begin. We're going to do this gapping space. So we're going to chain our single crochet 3 times. Now we're back on the treble, which is kind of where we started, right? We are going to single crochet into that treble and then immediately jump to the next side. So 3 single crochets again. We're on the outside petal now, so this gapping space will have 3 single crochets. Okay, we're now in the next gapping space, 3 single crochets. Isn't this easy? So then here's your treble. So we're going to put a single crochet into that treble and then 3 again. So continue to do that all the way around. When we come back, we'll fasten off and finalize off today's tutorial. So I'm coming all the way back around, and we're just going to single crochet 3 times into the final gapping space, and then we just join with the beginning single crochet that we started with, and now we just trim, we fasten off, and weave in our loose ends. And so essentially these hexagonals are now done, and I just think they're a lot more visually interesting than just being a solid color, but the creativity is really up to you when it comes to these things. And now the way that I had you fasten off this one that we started off with doing that slip knot idea, we can just safely trim that right there, and voila, you have an amazing afghan. So you can change off your colors, do as many different ideas as you want, but either way you'll have a great afghan. So until next time, enjoy your flower throw on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye bye.